What is up, my people? Good morning. What a great start to the week with some more CS news out there. It's been really quiet out there on the fronts. If I've missed anything, feel free to leave a DM or a comment down below, guys, because it's been super quiet. Yes, we got a few matches here and there. I wouldn't say any big results as of now, but throughout this week, we'll hopefully share some more news. A bit of a backdraw on some major news we talked about last week. The Senzu situation continues to grow, and anticipation and angst and people questioning exactly what is happening over in that camp. We have the Spirit Academy drama, which has kind of calmed down since last week. And then we have NiKo talking about the CS market crash, which I never talked about with all of you guys. Thank goodness I don't have money in skins. Because that would suck. But first, we go back to last week. One of the bigger stories in terms of, I guess, drama. When you talk about Spirit Academy members, you don't probably think, top headlines out there. One of those Academy members, I believe, for their Academy white team, because Spirit now has their main roster of dominance, and then they need like 3 or 4 Academy rosters of future dominance, so CIS can take over the future scene as it is. One of those players, known as Kogas, and also his teammate, making the news because against the Valkyrie female team, that being Imperial Valkyries, they had some things to say in the chat, which at first glance, I mean, it looks pretty bad. It appears to be very much a sexist statement, someone else remarking for their teammate what they had said to Imperial, that being, hey, I'm going to give it to each one of you in the mouth, which of course, them being a female team, your first assumption, okay, you're saying that because it's a group of women. It was met with some big distaste, because that's a big uh-oh for you not to think that team is going to screenshot that and for this to make the news. I will say, this player, Kogas, has apologized, maintains his apology for the language he used, but he did at least clarify the statement a little bit, which in his defense, I think it makes sense. There could be some lack of translation. Of course, we'll never know the full truth. We weren't there, but he actually clarified his side a bit more, saying that was cut out of context a little bit. I have nothing but love for the girls. I apologize for any misunderstanding. In any case, the situation turned ugly, but I didn't mean any sexism. It was just done out of habit. In the CIS community where I play, no one reacts to this expression in such a way. There is no bias, no sexism. I'm just a fool. I love everyone. Maybe I need to explain it in a bit more detail. We took a tech pause so that I could turn on exit lag because I could not kill anyone, and I was being teleported around the map because of bad ping. During that pause, I said I will turn exit lag on and F them in the mouth. That was mostly for moral support, mostly to boost myself, because if I say something, it must be done. That was in no way related to the fact we were playing against women, nor did it mean I disrespect them. I just told my team in TeamSpeak that I will carry the game from now on. I don't understand why it turned into such a drama. That doesn't mean I take back my apology. I don't. I apologize if that hurt someone. The fact that my captain, here's another part of the problem, sent those words in the chat kind of like on his behalf. That's how he referred to it. He said, Kogas said this during practice is a different story, but there's a difference in meaning of what I said and what my IGL presented in the chat. And I will gladly eat my words as to what I said last week. With the initial context and situation, it seemed pretty bad, but I got to give credit where it's due for this kid to kind of explain the situation. It is still a bad situation. He still maintains his apology, because you got to read the room, right? You got to realize if you're going to say something like that, I mean, I guess he probably never realized his captain was going to put that in the chat, but you got to realize you're playing against a team of all women. So when you use that specific wording, it's of course it's gonna come across as sexist the way you're saying it. He says it was meant for a morale boost. He would have said it whether they were men or women. And the fact that his captain put it in the chat, he didn't decide that, which I kind of got to side with him on. So at least at the very end of the day, he gives us some more context in the situation. He still apologized and says he has nothing but love for that other team, which I thought, given the situation, was about as good a response as we can possibly have. We've had a lot of younger players so far throughout this year. The last one we talked about was the MIBR kid who came in on loan, who have not been able to explain their situations as thoroughly as this. So I would say pretty well done, and hopefully we move on from this kind of situation. And Kogas, we'll see the future of him in Spirit Academy rosters truly are. This could just be something we look back on and laugh at years from now as the CIS scene dominates us all. And I think the main story for today, guys, that I wanted to break down was the serious situation over at mongolz. If you somehow are living under a rock in CS Town, yes, mongolz have also somehow benched Senzu before the major. Around that time, just around a month up until this major. Of course, yes, they're starting later in the stages, so it's a slight benefit for mongolz. They have a bit more time, but for any team out there, especially a former major grand finalist, EWC winners, they lifted a trophy this year. They are on top of the world when it comes time for all-time Asian lineups, putting Mongolia on the map. I mean, their story throughout this year has been subpar to none. You know, everything we have seen around the mongolz and their hometown support, it's literally been a miraculous coverage for Counter-Strike in general, what they have done moving this scene forward and their own scene. So to see that, I mean, this is earth-shattering news. You do not see this too often. The problem being, though, because it is a big headline, like you can't cut it any other way. The other side of the coin being, this is a teenage, you know, still a young kid out there with so much time left in the scene. And with that being such big news, has brought some big drama, because we look at their own statement, right? And we look at the amount of apologies inside Senzu's statement, and it's so difficult, because I understand why everyone wants the questions answered. I totally understand it. But on the other side, it's also drummed up a lot of past drama around Senzu and former teams he's taken part of, and some skin controversies he's also been wrapped up in, which even led Senzu to now actually delete all of his social media. He has now returned to social media, and it's just a whole fuzz buzz around a kid who is wrapped up in what is ultimately an unfortunate situation, which we will probably never get the proper explanation for. And we still don't know why he's benched. And I don't think we need to know at this point. And to give you guys the quickest TLDR of his former NKT situation, what the fraud was apparently there was a mix-up with some skins, you know, him allegedly stealing some skins, and then according to his own story, that's because they were, you know, cut short on some sort of payment, and so the skins was to make up for said payment. This goes back years, right? Even then, he was even younger of a kid. We're talking about real teenager stuff, and some drama he was mixed up in that has now followed him, and that is why he took to Twitter to then re-clarify that situation, to separate it from what's happening on the mongolz. As he said, there was this misunderstanding of why I left the NKT. I left that team by my own, and it was 100% my own decision. After I left the team, something happened, and there's some big reason behind it. There's one thing I didn't tell you guys. At first, they wanted me to play for 7 days as a trial. Then I joined the team and played for 6 months, and I received 2 months salary at that time. They also didn't give Machine Gun salary full. He was the coach of the team. The reason why they didn't give his full salary was they said Machine Gun wasn't good enough at his job. After we left the team, they left us in NKT's Valorant team boot camp for 10 days, and we spent our salary to live there. When we came back in Mongolia, we had no money, and Machine Gun had a newborn baby, and he needed money. We made the worst decision during that situation. I don't want to make enemies, and I don't want to change anything in the past, because everything happened to me in the past made me who I am today. When I joined mongolz, they solved all the problems and paid the buyout and the money that I owed to NKT. And so all of this seemed really random, because someone like me, I wasn't even aware of that drama. I wasn't aware of Senzu, you know, back years and years ago when all of this was going down. That drama has now re-drummed itself back up because of the weird wording of his current situation, and all the suspicions, and more so the curiosity of so many people out there has now people asking questions like, is he in some sort of trouble? Is there fraud to watch out for? When at the end of the day, we just don't know. And it's gotten to a point where it's like, it's somehow become almost bigger than it is, even though it is big. At some point, we got to let this go and let this kid be himself. And, you know, this decision was made. As Senzu said, it was not a short-term decision. This is a decision they've been trying to come to apparently for some time. And so will we ever know why, after all this time, you reach and become a top team in the world? You lift your first huge international trophy, alongside that an even bigger achievement, making the grand finals of a major, and just a month before you can kind of culminate this season together as your best season yet, you drop one of your best players. We'll never know, but this will be one of the biggest mysteries in Counter-Strike history, and maybe one day we'll know. We'll see. Oh my goodness, I do apologize, guys. I'm not sure if I was supposed to make a video on the CS market. I know you guys are more esports audience, but I also do follow the CS market very lightly. I have a collection of Optic Gaming stickers, and that's pretty much all I got. I don't have like an immaculate inventory out there. At one point, I had like a few $1,000s in skins. It's probably still around there. I'm not knocking that. That's still a lot of money, but I kind of put that money into the game knowing that full well it could be lost. I'm not trying to withdraw it or get anything out of it, but I do enjoy looking at my skins every now and again and say, hey, you know, like that was when I first got into CS. I bought that way back in the day. And so my main collection right now, I got some Optic Gaming stickers. Obviously, with the market crash that happened as of late, within 48 hours of that ridiculous CS update, I say ridiculous in the way that it was orchestrated. I think the ultimate message of this and the ultimate long-term goal of Valve is maybe going to work out with leveling out the market a little bit and maybe trying to stop some of that bullcrap manipulation going on. But within 48 hours, we saw the market crash between $2 to almost $3 billion, which is insane because we were just days before that breaking the record all time for CS market cap. It was almost like some sort of like prophecy having to come down on all of us. Yeah, that was wild. We have NiKo's opinion on all of this, which I think is a safe one because he says he's never really bought skins, he doesn't invest in skins, and he doesn't recommend anyone else actually hold, you know, money inside of a game like CS. And so here was his short take on all of that.
I really don't own much. Almost none of my skins are mine. Only the cheap ones that you can find. I never bought any knife, so I don't know what to say about it. It is shocking. I feel bad for the people that lost a lot of money, but I mean, I speak for myself. I was never a big fan of investing something in game, to be honest, because I just never trusted it, and I never wanted to buy anything expensive in game. I don't know. But I hope everyone will be all right and that they will find their way out of this. And yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is.
But yeah, man, it was so funny because I also watched so much CS content. So I watched like 3 or 4 videos on that. And I was like, wait a second, should I have made a video on that? Nah, let's just focus on the esports side and the side I enjoy a bit more. But we can use it for the end of a video because I do enjoy the CS market. I love the CS economy. It's one of the first things that drew me to this game. But yeah, at the end of the day, you got to remember, of course it's volatile because it's in the hands of someone else. You don't own those skins. Valve does, and they can do with those skins whatever they freaking please. And for a long time, I mean, just about the length of time of this game, it's been a great investment to hold on to your skins, which is why I've held on to some of mine. And so we're seeing a bit of a course correction. I do think long-term the economy is going to be just fine and relatively stable, but please don't go overextending yourself with CS skins. It is dangerous, and it can be thrilling. As a younger me, it was, you know, in high school and college to collect those skins. But remember, once you're older, you got real bills to pay like I do. So that's why a lot of the inventory is gone now. I got to pay rent. You know what I'm saying? Till next time, though, hope you guys all enjoy. Always great seeing you guys, and hopefully see you back here sometime soon with more CS news. Take care. Bye-bye.